The following preview has been rated good by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Check out the full episode on Sunday. The year is 1630. A young family in New England has been cast out of their village. They settle on a nice piece of land. But it turns out there's a witch. Will the family survive the next summer holiday with the witch?
The answer is no, they don't.
No. I didn't know where I was going with that. I did that one on the fly this time.
Good job.
But yes, our next review and last review of the October season is Robert Eggers' 2015 movie, The Witch.
We got to keep that witch train rolling.
Yeah, well, that's actually ending today.
That's true.
So,
the last witch for now.
Technically tomorrow, because that's when the episode comes out. So.
Of course.
But yeah, we're really excited to cover this one.
Yeah, I surprisingly enjoyed this movie so much more than I originally thought.
Mm-hmm.
I was originally a little apprehensive watching it because, like, I knew that there was a lot of old-timey speak in it, and that's real hit or miss on whether or not that, like, translates well. Surprised by how well, like, this whole thing flowed, how well the writing went together, and also, like, I'm a huge fan of a subtle horror. Fantastically done here.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I first went to see this movie as, actually, I've just been out of high school, and so it's still part of my tradition of, like, going to movies with my dad more frequently. We actually kind of went and see this because it seemed a little bit different, but also, you don't see a lot of people with our last name out there.
That's true. It is a pretty unique name.
Which... This is also the most episodes I've said my last name on anything, with not referring to myself either. But my dad and I were so enamored with this movie because it was something fresh and new, especially with what was really coming out around that time. And we still haven't really had too much since. Like,
yeah, this is a very unique take on, like, a witch horror.
Yeah, well, and just even a folk horror movie. Because that, folk horror, I would definitely say, is kind of one of the... lesser looked upon genres.
I would say a lot of the, like, versions and interpretations of it focus so heavily on the European side.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a whole lot of early Americana folk.
Or what we do see in Americana is Salem.
Yes, which, I mean, of course, it's a classic, but there's so much more.
Yeah, it was probably the most publicized one by that point. So.
Oh, definitely. And
and we do mention that, like, the year Salem, the witch trials ended, that was the last murder of a witch in the U.S. as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, granted, we didn't have a whole, like, long period to choose from for our witch trials here in America, but at the same time, like we talk about in the episode, like, we were busy doing things that this family was supposed to be doing.
But weren't.
Yeah, I blame the dad.
Oh, it's 100% the dad.
Yeah.
But
this movie does such good with writing. It does a great job of, like, building up the characters. You really feel not just attached to some, annoyed by others. Like, it does a great job of, like, setting up a, like, very realistic family setting.
Yeah, my dad and I were actually really happy when the twins died on our first viewing.
Yeah, I can totally understand. They are little brats.
Yeah, we were so annoyed by them. And that's the other thing too, is, like,
But you're annoyed in, like, the best way. Like, it's not like they're annoying because the acting's bad or the writing's bad. They're written like children, and that's why they're annoying.
Yeah, and I think the best part of this movie is that, for the most part, it is subtly spooky.
Yes.
It's a lot of stuff happening off screen. The couple things we see are
there's some
rough.
good gore, though.
Yeah, but it's not, like, over the top, saw bodies exploding kind of things.
It's not necessarily gore for gore's sake. It's
No.
there because of, like, that's
realism.
It's part of the storyline.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the best thing that Robert Eggers did with this movie is creating a realistic depiction of not only that time, but a realistic family going through genuine turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
Both religiously and societally.
Oh, yeah, no, like, if you think about it, like, they doomed themselves to die in winter, but just much slower than they did throughout the way the witches killed them.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, I don't know. There's just so much to this movie that it's definitely one of those movies I feel to truly appreciate. Like you brought up, is listening to the commentary by Eggers.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Yeah, and also doing your own, like, little digging on the side too, because
there's so much.
Yeah, well, the history of witchcraft is something that is...
Oh, there's so much to go through.
Something very interesting. And honestly, if next month wasn't Nick Cage in November, I would have tried to find something on like Aleister Crowley or the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn to keep this going.
Oh yeah, no, it's, and like depending on where you are and what time you are and like which group of people you're following around, that changes what the witch definition is and like what they can do. And I think he did such a great job of like digging into like not just like what the idea of a witch was, but like the symbolism and like the omens the family gets to see are, because some of them you'll recognize because, you know, they've managed to continue on and like the vibe is always right on. Yeah. But like the symbolism has changed over time because we don't have like not many people have milking goats anymore.
Well, and it's also I've had multiple discussions with Laffenstein and Krim on this about art horror. And we all hate the term. Well, yeah, art and elevated horror. I think we all hate that term just because it makes it sound pretentious.
Yeah,
but there is something to it of like, there is an art form to it that steps it above our general horror films. And we started really talking about this like 6 months ago or so, and talking about X, the most recent A24 movie that we've all seen. But the thing about it is, in the way that Midsommar is off-putting, because Midsommar is quite pretentious.
It is quite pretentious, but
it's good, but it's pretentious.
No, 100% it's pretentious, but I think part of the reason it feels pretentious is because it's handling issues of like modern day problems using like this old folk like storytelling, right? Whereas this one, it doesn't necessarily read as pretentious like writing like Midsommar does, because it's all old-timey. Yeah. And all old-timey stuff has the same level of pretentiousness across the board. That's just part of old-timey stuff, is like there's a little bit of know that you need regardless of where you are.
The intro to that one cookbook I have, The Art of Cookery, as made plain and simple as possible, as yet done by a woman.
Yeah, you know, real insulting there.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the whole intro to that one's pretty insulting too. But yeah. I think that's the thing about The Witch, is that The Witch stands on its own as a good movie and creates a realistic depiction, not even arguably, a realistic depiction of the time frame.
Oh yeah, he does a great job of that. And like, if you are a history or detail buff like we are, this movie's got so many good nuggets to pick apart. There's so much like you can go through and like really get yourself into the architecture of the place, or like the farming techniques of the time, or like the mythology that these people would have followed, because he did a great job of narrowing down exactly who this like family was. He didn't give like a general idea of like, oh, it's, you know, one of the early time people. Like, he picked a specific family, which helps so much with the storytelling.
Oh yeah, very much so. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting deep watch to go into, I'd say.
It is. Maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but it was mine. I will be watching this again.
Same. But anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Check out the full episode.